I am with one of my best buds in the entire world from Nashville, Tennessee. This is Eli Rhodes. Eli, say hello.
Hello.
That's Eli. So we jumped on this call today, and Eli said I could film it, and we're just going. Eli had an idea, and we wanted to flesh it out, so we are going to kick into it now. So Eli, tell the world what your idea, like where you are, what you kind of want to do, things like that, and then we'll kind of see how we can make it happen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead, just for the world out there, you know me, but the world doesn't. So I'm going to give a little background on what I am and what I actually do. By trade, I'm a producer and recording engineer / songwriter and musician. I've been professionally doing music, either playing in bands or recording bands, doing any of that for the better part of 14 years. I moved to Nashville 8 years ago and got my actual degree in audio engineering while I was up here. And since I graduated MTSU in 2012, I've been focusing mainly on being a songwriter, producer, and I guess you could even say artist hired gun, kind of a jack of all trades in the music industry. And I mean, I've made it work by literally just being flexible and doing a lot of different parts of the industry, be it doing consulting for like admin publishers or something like that, or even like consulting for like older labels trying to get more modern with what they're doing. And also I've been just working, doing all that to the point to where I don't have to have another job. Like my job is music, but now with the change in the way people consume music with streaming, and also with the way video, a la what we're doing now, like online tutorials and stuff have become a thing. I've been really trying to figure out ways to branch my brand out and monetize off of it, where more of my full-time job per month could be doing stuff involving, reaching a crowd that scopes outside of Nashville, or someone having to travel to Nashville to work with me. Yeah. Like by having me play on their project here or whatnot, because of the internet, I can send audio files anywhere. I can mix audio files from anywhere and all that. So it's like trying to expand my reach outside of the city of Nashville, because while it's big, that means it's a big market, but at the same time, that market's extremely oversaturated right now. So it's just trying to expand and bring my skill set and even maybe some education to a different generation, because I mean, I do have 14 years under my belt doing this now. So there we go. That's a little background, but
well, I think the cool thing is that a lot of people think that, and you know this as well as anyone does, that if you're trying to do music, it's either you make $0 or you make $1 million.
Yeah.
And there's no in between. But myself, like when I was writing in Nashville and playing, and then yourself, you can make 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 doing it.
Yeah.
And like, kind of like we were saying a second ago, the music industry has like blinders on when it comes to different ways to monetize and branch out. Yeah. So your idea was, or what you want to do rather, is you want to use the expertise that you've got, be it, you've got songwriting and artistry and stuff, but it sounds like you kind of wanted to stick with the guitar route. And so you wanted to both do tutorials online, be it gear reviews or whatever, teach online lessons maybe. Was that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe do some of that, and then even more in the realm of production and engineering too, because I mean, I'm a okay guitar player. I mean, I'm good enough to make money at it. It's not that I'm bad, but I mean, I'm also not Brent Mason, and all that. And I mean, that's not the route I want to go, but I do know how to play smart parts and play them well. And I know how to voice chords in unique ways. And I know how to make very interesting sounding guitar parts and interesting sounding recordings. And that's something that's kept me in work, really. I mean, is being able to be unique. And I kind of want to help people find their own unique voice, be it as a player or as a producer, and not necessarily copying my voice, because I mean, my voice is my voice, but teach you the techniques that I use to tap into that uniqueness and like that kind of thing. That'd be, I guess, a little bit more, but yeah, obviously playing guitar would be a big part of it. But
cool. So like, what's the, like, what do you think your video channel will look like? So you want to start off with videos. Like, well, first off, let's get, I told you to kind of think about your income goals. So like, what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, ideally right now, to some it's going to seem like a big number, to some it's going to seem like a small number, depending on who you are. But I would like to be able to start making, via doing this kind of stuff, between $2,500 and $3,000 a month. So I mean, conservatively, conservatively under 36 grand a year, basically, I guess, on stuff like this right now. I mean, because there's other stuff that I will keep doing, obviously, like as a player and a producer, that I don't want to completely give up.
Sure.
And
sure.
so, I mean, right now I'm looking for maybe doing about 2,500 to $3,000 extra a month.
Okay.
And, I mean, and again, like I said, to some people that seems like a crazy number, and some it's like, oh, well, that's really small. So, I mean,
well, that's your number though. That's, everyone's got, for whatever reason it is, their number. So that's really cool. So 36K. I think that's a super doable number.
Yeah, I do too.
And so let's just start with that. And the bulk of that number you would want to be made up how, like in sessions or lessons or what?
Probably in sessions and production work.
Okay.
I mean, if I had to, yeah.
Cool. So let's break down maybe the typical pay for that. So like, let's say sessions and then do it like producing records. So what would you like to get for records?
It depends. If you're talking like doing a full band record with an artist, them coming in, normally depending, and again, this is so dependent on the artist's budget, because as a working producer, I do like to work within an artist budget, but off a record, on the low end, I like to make between $2,000 and $4,000 on the low end to do a full record. I mean, I play almost everything, and doing all that, but normally, and put it this way, the last record I did that was really good, and I was super proud of the way it sounded and the artist, I think in and out of the studio before he did like promo and stuff that I had nothing to do with, that was him as the artist. I think we spent about $7,500 all in and out on his record.
And so, what was your take of that?
My take was $2,500 of that. So, I mean, I took a fourth or a third, something like that.
So really it could be just like 10 to 12 records a year without any session work.
Exactly. Yeah.
There. Okay. So, and then sessions, I mean, what are you thinking for that? Like, what's your day rate about?
Normally I do it in like parts, because a lot of what I do now, people are like, hey, can you do vocals, or can you do like electric guitar parts for me? And normally I'm about, if you want me to do electric guitars, as long as you're only wanting, a couple of electric guitar parts and maybe an acoustic overdub, it's about $150 a session with me. And that's not necessarily a day rate. That's just like in and out on your song. So like normally I'll do pretty much anything you want on a guitar or keys or bass or anything for about $150 a tune-ish, because most people nowadays come to me with singles, and that's fine. So normally about $150, I guess, per tune.
Gotcha. So how it's looking is like, if you did one, just like super general numbers, one record a month, and maybe 3 sessions, let's say that's about $450, $500.
Yeah.
That would put you where you needed to be.
Exactly.
Do you think 1 record a month is like possible?
It's possible. I don't know. Because, I mean, I did, when I was working on the record I was just talking about, I was doing 2 other projects at the same time. But see, that record spanned longer than a month, too. Like, that record probably spanned, as far as the tracking and me getting paid, 2 to 3 months. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible to get, because it's not necessarily the doing of it, it's getting paid for one of those a month, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, which is fine. And, I mean, the artist, I mean, it took time because he was back and forth between here and Indianapolis at the time. So, I mean, it kind of had to deal with scheduling too. But, I mean, yeah, I think 1 record a month is definitely doable, even if that means getting half the money one month and half the next, in which case I just probably have to make up for it with session work in the meantime. Like if I'm doing half deposit up front and half at the end, which is why I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Is that like an intimidating number, do you think? Like, are you looking at being like, I mean, I could definitely get 3. I could definitely get 4 a year, but 12 would be like kind of a lot. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you think?
I don't mind putting in the work, but I've never had that many records come to me in a year. Again, that's part of this though. Like part of what I'm trying to do with building my brand is also increase clients and increase my client base. So,
yes.
I mean, the number's not intimidating. It's just I haven't done that much in a year before.
Gotcha. Cool.
I wouldn't say it's intimidating though. I mean,
yeah, it sounds to me just like knowing what I know of like the recording industry, like you said, tough but doable.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've kind of got your financial goals. So the next question I would ask would be like, besides making money, what's your purpose? Like I feel like all business owners and people that are trying to build something have obviously a monetary goal and a purpose for, you got to make a living, but what's like your deeper purpose, like for helping other people?
Well, I mean, you just said part of it right there, helping other people. One, because I do like to serve and I do like to help people, but as a producer, nothing gives me greater joy. And I mean this, getting paid's great, but I mean this, like nothing gives me greater joy than helping an artist actually realize their vision. And, they bring me an idea like, I want to make this record. I want to say this with it. And I want to make it sound like this.
Yeah.
Make it happen. And then going from absolutely nothing or just a bunch of acoustic guitars and lyrics to making it sound the way they hear it in their head.
Yeah.
So I guess making someone's like artistic vision come to life. That's my main goal with this, be it if you're a player and you're wanting to learn how to play unique guitar parts that make you the player that you want to be, or be it, you're the artist and you want a song to sound the way you hear it in your head. Like I want to bring those visions to life for those people. And also I'd like to give back a little bit of the knowledge that I've learned through the years doing this, give it to the next generation. So maybe, there's that one kid out there that can like learn from it. Like I did when I'd sit around listening to like Jackson Browne records or watching like tutorials with Dave Pensato, a mix guy. Like doing stuff like that. I'd like to be a guy like that just gives back too.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something too. Like I love teaching. Like I enjoy teaching marketing and stuff like that. And it's funny because I actually did not enjoy teaching guitar. Like I've taught guitar lessons over the year and it just wasn't fun. And this to me is fun. And I think it's like when you can teach someone where there's no audience, because obviously when you start with no audience, that's kind of that drive and maybe that innate purpose that you have gives you the drive to push over that hump. But okay, so now we've kind of got your financial goal. We've got your purpose for doing it, and that's kind of your driving factor. Now, when you're looking at kind of when I'm talking to people about building a business, there's kind of 4 aspects. So it's lead generation, and then it is obviously closing, and then it is delivering the product and helping that person. And then the final step 4 is the follow-up. Okay, so one more time, it's lead gen, so getting traffic and eyeballs on you. Then it's selling and closing that client, so actually taking them from never having heard of you to becoming a client. Third is delivering the vision and solving their problem for them. And then 4th is the follow-up system. So A, how do you ensure that they continue to have success? But B, how do you get referrals from them? How do you tap into their network? How do you maybe increase their, in marketing terms, lifetime value of a customer?
Okay.
So those are like the 4 steps that I kind of think about when I'm doing this. So the first one, lead gen. So that's traffic and getting eyes on you. What comes to your head when you think of that?
Well, again, I like to teach. I like to learn. So, I mean, I'm constantly learning, and just from what I see, I think one really massive tool, or two really massive tools, I guess, right now would be Instagram and YouTube would be ways to get eyes on me or on whatever I'm selling. And also, I saw yesterday where you're doing a tutorial on a new social media app. It seemed very interesting and seemed very much like Instagram, but everything I liked about Instagram before it changed. I can't remember, I think it's called Vero or something.
Vero, yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's another one I was thinking about tapping into as well, because it's new. And I know that with social media, like, everything goes out of style. Like, I mean, to me, Twitter's already kind of old, and Facebook's definitely old. Like, in the sense of, like, reaching a new audience. To me, I mean, I could be wrong about that, and you know more about that than I do. Yeah. But I mean, so YouTube and Instagram, to make my long answer short, I guess, would be, like, kind of a way to drive traffic outside of the traditional just playing places and getting to know people. But, again, trying to expand outside of Nashville, I guess you'd say, you know, what I just said.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're talking about wanting to make between 2,000 and 4,000 a record. So one of the things about musicians and artists is that they're typically have no money, you know, like that's, so, but there are some, like, I know when I did my first 2 records, mine was, I mean, right in that spot where you're talking about, like between $4,000 and $8,000. So artists can make it happen. And like, I had my reasons for why I went with my producer, who was Paul Reeves. And so artists will pay, or they'll find the money, be it through crowdfunding or whatever, to make it work. But what would an artist need to believe about you personally in order to put that record, like, to give you that?
Trust me with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, to make the investment with you.
Well, I can honestly say I work very hard, and when I'm working on your record, like, say you're the artist, if I'm working on your record, your vision is my number one priority, and your budget. Because, I mean, that's one thing I think a lot of producers don't say a lot that they need to, is at the end of the day, a producer's got to be a very good balancer and manager of a budget. And because the artist is going to trust you, like, I've got this much money to make a record, and if their total budget to make the record's $10,000 total, like, I don't need to come back at the end of it and be like, oh crap, we're $4,000 over budget. You've got to come up with $4,000 more, even though you worked your butt off to get $10K to do this. Like, that is not my goal as a producer. My goal is for the money that you have set up to do this record and the money that we've agreed upon to do this record, I'm going to work my butt off to bring you the best product I can. That's your vision first, not mine, but me interpreting your vision and doing that in a cost-effective way to where you get the most for your money. So when you're leaving there, you're not like, crap, I wish we'd have had $4,000 more. It's like, wow, we did that for $2,000 under what we were supposed to.
For sure.
And
well, let's step back from that. So it's like, so when an artist comes to you to make a record, what's usually their big goal?
With the artist, most of the time, it's to get famous, or, you know, like, to get recognized because of that record, or, you know, sign a record deal, or just to sell a bunch of that so they can make money off their album sales or the single sales.
Okay, so get famous, get record deal, make money. I mean, so like make up, you know, if they spend, let's say $5,000 on a record, they want to make $6,000, $7,000. They just want to make positive ROI.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Make money / positive ROI. And I think when it comes to a record, it's a little abstract, because it's like, I don't think artists necessarily want to make, like, when I made my first record, I didn't think I was going to sell 10,000, 1,000, 100 copies. So it wasn't the money, but rather I was looking at it as a tool to get me taken seriously, B, in the right, which would lead to me getting in the right doors, and getting meetings with people. So just like coming from an artist, like how I looked, and maybe to kind of spark your thinking a little bit here, I went with a producer that I trusted that would get the best performance out of me.
Yeah.
that would kind of the first time I went to the studio, I didn't know anything. Like, I was super green about it. And when I came out, I felt like I was a transformed artist, and I felt like I could then take it from Athens, Georgia at the time, and go to Nashville. And I had a product to give to people to start building that network.
Yeah. And I mean, you hit it on the head too. I mean, that's like the last major project I did. It was doing that, like that artist, while he has worked before, he'd never worked at the level that we were working at in that studio. And like by the time he left, he did feel more confident in himself as an artist. Like, I do belong here in this town. Like, and I mean, that is one thing I do like to do. And the thing that I try to do the most is I try to get the best out of the artist. Because again, at the end of the day, if I'm doing an album with you, or if I'm even doing a single with you, it's not all because of the money. It's because I believe in what you do as an artist, and I truly enjoy it. Like, when I've got artists that invest money with me to do their project, I want to be invested in them. I don't only want to do their record because it's a paycheck. I want to do it because I'm a fan of what they do. And, you know, that's one thing when I work with the artist I work with, I'm genuinely a fan of what they do, and I want to see them succeed to whatever degree success is to them. Like, so that's another thing that I am after, and I'm after making the artist better than they were before they came in the studio. Like, I want them to be better singers. I want them to be better players. I want them to be better writers when they leave. Because like you, I had a guy that I went in with. He was a co-writer of mine named Tom McHugh. And I was clueless about the studio other than I'd played guitars on some stuff before. But like, as far as being the artist, I never was. And he tapped into a side of me as an artist that I'd never tapped into before him. And he brought something out of me that was different. And from then on, I was like, crap, I want to be able to do that for somebody else. I mean, because that was a big thing. So, yeah.
So, and I kind of might have jumped ahead to the second part there with like closing and stuff, but the first one, lead gen, like, I think that, like, in your opinion, what are the two, like, for someone to even reach out to you, like, how have artists reached out to you in the past? Have they been friends? Did they find your stuff on SoundCloud or iTunes or what?
A little bit of all of it. The artist, his name's Zach, that I've been talking about this whole time. He heard me play on a writer's round with some buddies of mine in Nashville, and we started writing songs, and then he just happened to hear what I was doing in the studio with some other artist, and it kind of led to, he believed in me because he believed in the songs we were writing together, and then we just did some demos of those at my place, and that turned into, crap, we should do a record, so we did. And most of it's just been people hearing either my artist stuff and being like, I like how different that is, or it's been people hearing from other people like, you know, Zach or something like that. You know, I worked with Eli in the studio and I really enjoyed it, and I think he'd be a good fit for you.
So referral in that case too.
Referral, yeah.
So the two are friendships, where you've built a relationship, and that's built trust with them and your ability.
Absolutely.
Referrals, which is, you know, kind of a word of mouth thing where the person automatically builds trust because they hear it from someone else. And then the third one that I'm looking at, like, would be this YouTube channel that you want to start.
Yeah.
And essentially what you'd be doing, correct, stop me if I'm wrong. You just, like, you want to educate people and build your trust without selling. You know, it's not like at the end of this video, you got one opportunity to buy my, you know, sign up for a production thing for $2.99 or whatever. So you want to, your third method of lead gen besides organic friendships and referrals would be YouTube and tutorials and educating people.
Yeah.
Kind of building the know, like, trust factor.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's like step one. So number two, we've kind of talked about a little bit, which is selling and closing. Now, obviously this is easier when it's a friendship or whatever, but what do artists, let's say it's someone that you just met out at a bar, or they reached out to you on YouTube and they're like, oh, Mr. Eli, help. What do they need to believe about you? And what do they need to believe about themselves in order to make the cost less of an issue? So in other words, they're like, I mean, $5,000 is steep, but this is maybe more achieving this and doing this is maybe more important than the money. Like what kind of things do they need to believe, and do they need to know to see the importance of investing $2 to $4K in a record?
Okay, that's a very good question. As far as what they need to believe in me is, they need to believe and they need to know at the same time, because this is true. For your money, like say you're spending $4,000 with me to do a record, that record's going to sound like you spent $25,000 on it, because I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to hire the best guys that I know to hire. A lot of the guys that you and I have played plenty of gigs with that are great players, they're going to come in and they're going to give you a quality of a record that's 4 to 5 times what your budget was on it. So while you may be dropping a significant chunk of money in, you're only dropping a quarter of what you would have to drop with somebody else to get the same quality that you're getting from what we do. And they need to believe in themselves, that if I believe in them, then they should believe in themselves. Because like I said, when I'm working with a client on their record, it's because I believe in that client and what they're trying to say.
Okay.
And so, I mean, they need to believe that they do belong in the studio and that they belong where that $4,000 or $5,000, and they need to believe that their music is worth $4,000 to $5,000. Because at the end of the day, while that is a lot of money up front, I mean, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, $4,000 to $5,000, you know, to make something that can make or break your career, that's not that much of an investment. So, yeah.
And I agree, but so hear me out on this. So when you were saying like, when I was like, you know, why should I invest with you? Like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It sounds a little bit like you're selling, but you're selling on your heels, or you're selling defensively.
Okay.
Because it's kind of turning it around and showing them what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So what if instead of they were like, well, I want to make a record, and you know, I'm thinking about going with you. Why should I choose you? Instead of being like, well, I do this, you'll get this, you'll get this, you'll get this. It almost sounds like the thing is like, and not only that, you're going to get 2 knives or all that. What if you started off by asking them questions? Because the easiest way to figure out, to sell someone on something and to figure out what you need to do to give them success is just to ask them. You know, it's like, say, hey, what, you know, I'd definitely be interested. And before you even talk money, because as when money's tight, that's kind of what we start thinking about. And we go into that, how can I sell this person? How can I close this person on a record? But I think by switching that around and almost making them qualify themselves to you, seeing if you can help them. So it's like, well, you know, hey, you know, let's go to Zach. You know, Zach, tell me a little bit about what does success look like to you? Like, what would need to happen with your $5,000 in order for us to get to the end of this process and you be happy?
Sure.
And then he's telling you, right? There's no guesswork. And if he gets to the end of it and he's like, I don't know, man. It's just, and you're like, I mean, yo, dude, did you not just like, these are the 4 things you told me you wanted, and here they are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an insurance policy for you. But like, maybe like think of that approach of like asking them what success looks like to them, what their goals are. And then honestly, just asking yourself, do I feel like I can deliver that? Like if they were like, I have to get a record deal out of this.
Yeah.
Maybe you can deliver that. Like maybe you can make a great sounding record, but then maybe make some introductions or kind of set them up on a system to get there. Or if they're like, a success to me would be selling 20,000 copies, then maybe you'd be like, I might not be the guy for you. Yeah. So, you know, maybe I would start like when you're in the selling closing phase for a record, and man, ask them what success looks like to them, what they want, and then you can craft your close around that versus selling on your heels. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that takes kind of sitting and answering like hard questions, like,
Oh yeah.
And asking if you can deliver it. But the thing is that once you know those questions, once you know the answers, you'll know what you can deliver and what you can't.
Yeah.
And, man, I know it's hard if it's like a slow month and you're like, dude, I just need to get some production money in here.
Yeah.
So, but anyhow, so that's kind of like thinking about step 2, selling and closing. Now 3, is like what we talked about, delivering the solution. And so that when I'm thinking of like a service business, like with marketing, that would be creating the ads and the copy and the website. This is delivering the product to them, making sure that you do it successfully, fairly, making sure that it's helpful, and that it's giving them a solution.
Yeah.
That's when you can touch on, like, I think that's the right time to touch on, we're bringing in these players. We're, you're getting a 5-to-1 kind of sound here. I think that's the more appropriate time for that because they're already sold and now you're just kind of giving them icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And then 4, which is where we're talking about the follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
And so the follow-up for doing a record, I'm thinking like 1, asking for reviews, and 2, just asking for referrals. I mean, it's something real estate agents do really well.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, do you know 2 people that might be looking to buy a house that you could, either hook me up with or connect me with?
Yeah.
There's a book called The 7 Levels of Communication by Michael Mayer, Maher. And it's written from a real estate perspective, but you can use it for any industry. And it talks about how to build up a referral network through like a narrative story. It's really cool.
Okay.
But then also what you're doing in that follow-up is you're creating proof points. So like, let's say you did that record with Zach, and then Zach got a deal.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you could, that's one of your selling points that's not selling on your heels, where you're like, listen, the last dude, he wanted a record deal and we got him a record deal. And here's how we did it. We made, we wrote the songs, we did whatever it took.
Mm-hmm.
And you would list those out, and this is how he got the record deal. So in other words, he got what he wanted. And it was an investment, but now Zach's making, $20,000, or he signed a $20,000 pub deal, and he just got a cut or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the 4-step 30,000-foot view of how to look at it. And man, really what it is just like, how can you, it really takes like putting aside being like, man, I'm like just one sentence. If I can just think of the perfect selling point, then I'll have 5K. It's more being like, can I deliver what this artist wants? And if I can't, how can I adapt my systems to be able to deliver this stuff?
Yep.
And now let's bring this back around to the YouTube channel. That is essentially, like you talked about earlier, it's a celebrity and credibility builder.
Yeah.
So, but it has to be done a certain way. So think of the guys like with Pensado. What about Dave Pensado? And for anyone watching, Dave Pensado it's Dave, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Dave Pensado is this kind of more hip hop focused producer out in Los Angeles that has a huge YouTube channel where he basically just shows people how to make great sounding records. But anyways, what was it about him that made you such a big fan? Like what was it about his either personality, videos, what that kind of gave you insight and then made you a fan?
Well, I mean, on the engineering side, he's kind of a giant in engineering. Like, he's just a great mix engineer. And a lot of the plugins that I use, a lot of those, he endorses the same plugins, and he says, he uses those on records. So, you know, for me, it was one of those, and then hearing him talk again, like you said, it was his delivery, and he was able to, you know, deliver content in a way in which I understood it and loved the way he talked about it, because of a very realistic approach, like real world, not just a bunch of, you know, technical terms in a book. He wasn't using, you know, a bunch of like, this is a sine wave, this is a, you know, it was like, here's what I did on such and such record, and here's how I made it sound this way. Like, and this is what the signal chain was I used to do so, and why. Like, you know what I mean? It was just very practical.
All right. So I'm writing some stuff down. So it sounds like I'm trying to simplify what you're saying. So it sounds like one, obviously he's got, you know, credibility, like awards, Grammys, social proof. And it's okay if you don't have that yet, because everyone has to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
But it sounds like some other things you're saying is, I mean, personable. You know, I mean, he's like kind of a weird guy. Like he's funny and kind of has like an old grandpa vibe.
Yeah.
But then also, and this is, I like Pensado, and what I liked about it was that he kind of, what you said, like he pulled back the curtain. So he was like, here's the song, and here's exactly how I got it. So it's kind of, for me, I like people that give me insights. Like I like people that when I watch a video, I'm like, that's how that's done. You know, it's almost like if you can come away learning a new trick, then I'm like, that guy's smart. And like I remember the first time I learned about on Facebook creating custom audiences, which is when you can take the emails on your mailing list and drop them in Facebook, and Facebook will go out and find people that match your buyers. And that was a guy named Frank Kern said that. And I was like, holy crap, I had no clue. Like, this guy's a genius. And so it's like when Pensado can get on there and be like, here's a Michael Jackson record I did. Here's how I got this sound.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels cool. It feels like you're learning something that only a few privileged people know. And what that is it just simply put, it's insight. Like it's providing people with insights.